Welcome everyone to our first DEPT lunch break. During these lunch breaks, we dive into one of the hottest topics of the digital domain, and you get an opportunity to join the conversation. Today we have our experts with us, Max and Job, and they are going to share a bit about generative AI. Max, our right brain, is a leader in our creative and experience department, and Job, our more left brain, is one of the leaders in the in our AI practice. They have a passion for bringing together these two fields, and they've been working together for the last few years to really combine the amazing digital experiences that we as DEPT have to offer. So let's have a look at our program. Today we'll start with a nice presentation from our two guests, and afterwards we have some room for questions. So during this conversation, feel free to add all your questions to the chat, and afterwards we'll pick a few and share them back with you and discuss them with our two presentations. Thank you both for joining us, and let's give it up to Max, who's going to start and tell us a bit more about generative AI.
Oh, thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Job. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you all for tuning in to our first broadcast like this, and enjoy your lunch. So today I'm going to talk about generative AI, and I have some examples for you as well. But before I start, I'll spend like 1 minute on DEPT itself. We are an agency that really embraces pioneering. And I think that's one of the main reasons we're here today. It's one of the main reasons we started our AI practice, where Job is one of the leaders, and I sort of always do drive-bys because I really sort of feel like that at the first time in our history, these two fields of creation, creativity, and data and science are sort of coming together to create extraordinary experiences for the brands that we work for, but specifically for the people you serve as brands. We do that with technology and marketing across the globe with about 4,000 people in Western Europe, the US, and APAC, Asia. And we have that global scale, but I think the most important thing, we have a boutique culture. So we just embrace the people around us. You will always talk to me, Max, Job, or Lisa, and not numbers. And last but not least, we're here to help you to stay ahead. And so with no further ado, here's our presentation about generative AI. So I always said like that digital is like really radically transforming businesses and people, but actually, as you might have noticed, AI is doing that right now. I just, before we started, I explained that my tailor across in the street where I live was saying, Max, can you explain to me AL? And I was like, what is AL? But he actually meant AI, but it was in caps, so he didn't know. But then after a couple of seconds, he said like, but do you use ChatGPT? That was the same person. So you see like how fast this tech is going. If I have discussions like that with my tailor, you know something is up. So today we have 3 topics. What caused the sudden surge of AI, how you could start using it, and 3, how to integrate it into your business processes, and that part will Job do. So first, what caused that sudden surge? So we're all using it. Probably you used AI just now, like the second before this call. It can be assistant like Siri or whatnot, or self-driving car, or recommendations in Netflix, or the upcoming spatial computing of Apple, or personalization in your Spotify, or driving directions in Google Maps or Waze, or whatever you would use. These are all already AI as we got used to it. But in sort of 1 year ago, almost exactly, I think, there was the public launch of the beta of ChatGPT, and it was like amazing. On the first day, we were all like, it was almost red alert within DEPT, like, have you seen this? And Job was like, he was slacking me, I'm using this for years now, so I don't know what you all are talking about, but we were like, oh, this is amazing. And my son came home, he's 15, and he said, and he was 14 back then, he said, look, Dad, there's now a website that can do my homework. And it was the same day, and I'm not lying, he came up with that himself. That is the speed we're going right now. And there were more things going on. So there were already Gen AI tools like Midjourney that were capable to generate images out of thin air. Like the example you see here, where it's by text, this Nike is portrayed as a luxury brand. Or our two best friends together playing chess, where obviously one will have a little bit more trouble than the other. But it's also reflected in the usage. And it's insane to see that, for example, the usage, the amount of people going to the website is about the same as Amazon compared to ChatGPT. Or the time spent using the website is similar like Instagram, where Instagram's business model is totally geared towards to keep people on the website, while this is just made for people to explore themselves. So you determine how long you're there, but it's so interesting. It's comparable to Instagram. And this changes the way we inspire, like this amazing video Coca-Cola made. Or it's changing the way education works. I mean, it's all over the news. Like, for example, the bar exam where you become a lawyer in the US. ChatGPT will pass it, and it won't even pass it normally. It will pass it in the top 5% percentile. It's insane. It will change the way we communicate, because now suddenly, you know, these pesky chatbots you always had the past few years that they never understood you. Well, you go online, right? But now suddenly they talk back to you in a way you understand, and it feels human-like, and so service will change. Or it enables us to create new types of consumer experiences that weren't possible before, or digital products like we did for fingerspelling, where people, parents, can learn sign language just by visiting a website and using your desktop and your webcam, and it analyzes your movement and it will train you. It's amazing. Just go there, trust me. You'll think like, what is he babbling about? You'll go to the website, and before you know it, you are doing sign language the coming 1 to 2 hours. And it's changing the way we use it in creativity. So suddenly we can create massive amounts of assets, completely personalized and contextualized, based on AI and creativity and intermix, like we are, for example, doing for Spotify. Or changing the way we produce content. Now suddenly, for example, we create mass amounts of content text on Amazon for thousands and thousands of products. And before, it was a massively painstakingly job. Well, now we can use AI to do all the labor, the big labor, and then we can make it more detailed and make it more like tuned. But the bulk of the work is being done by AI. And it's also changing the way we code. So you can push in blobs of information and say like, hey, can you write me some code to analyze this or to make a user interface? Or even when you code, you can say, what is wrong with my code? I can find the error, and it will help you correct it. So AI is really impacting people, society, businesses, and also the planet. And it's doing this at an accelerated pace. And we are here today to talk to you about how it can improve your daily lives and your businesses. So this was my first part, and it gives you sort of a vibe, like what is this sudden surge of popularity. And I think some of it you will already recognize, but I think what is hard is like, how would you actually use it, right? So opposed to me just only telling you, I will show you a couple examples, like how you actually can make it applicable. Before you start, I've asked in a lot of these live talks that I can fortunately do again after being inside for 2 years. like, put your hands up, who's using, for example, ChatGPT, and it's amazing. On average, 50, 60, 70% of the people will raise their hand. But when I then ask them, are you keep using it, or did you do it a couple of times and then went back to your normal daily lives? And then I think about half of the people lowered their hands. And the reason behind it is that you ask it a question and it will give you sort of a quite generic answer, and you'll think like, yeah, it's fine, but it looks like Google. And I think the interesting thing is the magic starts happening when you start interacting with it. For example, when you're in a bar and you ask somebody a question, it will give you like sort of a simple answer. But when you engage with that person and say like, hey, but tell me more about this and that. Oh, now I understand, but I'm not so technical. Can you explain it in a different way so I understand it better? This is literally how generative AI works. So when you talk and give it more information, it gets better. So I created an example 2 days ago about DEPT using ChatGPT and Midjourney, just to show you how it works, right? It's just an example. So first, it's important to teach the system something about us. Because if you don't do that, it will keep giving sort of generic answers. And I first wanted to learn about, in this case, about DEPT. So I went to the DEPT website, and the only thing I did is I selected the homepage, and I just did select all, and I copied it. I then went to ChatGPT, just pasted the whole website, and it's mumbo jumbo, it's garbage. You'll see here to the right, you'll see even parts of the navigation structure and whatnot. It doesn't matter, it will still work. Then I created something that what we call a prompt. But a prompt is just a way to tell it to do something. So I said to it, create a summary about DEPT, start with an introduction, overview, main strengths, and 3 takeaways. And it then just based on the information I just gave it, plus the generic knowledge it has about the internet, it will generate a sort of piece of information that's quite usable already. What you'll see to the right, so you'll see an overview, main strengths, and takeaways. It has headers, it has explanations, and it's all based on that sentence to the left. That's the only thing I said, and I already have this. Then I said create a 5-slide presentation, and it started making it. And it won't not even only say like the slides, it will give you the slide name, it gives you bullets, it gives you visual instructions for the visuals on the slide. And you can still interact with it, right? You can say, no, I want this, I want that. But just with a simple command, it will already create something to help you to build a structure for presentation. And you, as a user, can then make it better, right? So I wouldn't advise just to copy it, but it will give you a starting point. Then I said something complex, just to show you how far you can go. Come up with a marketing schedule for a year in a table. So in a table for DEPT, include seasonal influences, like Christmas or Easter or whatever. Give suggestions about the type of content. Use different touch points, so let's say email or banner or whatever, that make the most sense for the year. Also come up with a team to drive the campaign. And then this was the whole command I gave, and it's just started generating a full table, marketing table, with seasons, touch points, and whatnot. Well, the top one right now is about Women's Month, and it's in March. So I asked it, create an example post for it. So it did, and this is a post, but I didn't specify what touch point. So it has sort of an average length. So I said, create a 140-character tweet. So it did. And then I said, create, based on this, a visual description, only use nouns. Why? Because these nouns I can use in Midjourney to create an image. So Midjourney is so this is ChatGPT, this generates text. Midjourney generates images. So, and it needs instructions. But in opposed to me writing the instructions, I'll just ask ChatGPT. So it did, but it was too generic. So I said, have some emphasis on women in tech and the March campaign. So it did that as well. And I then just copied it and went to the image generation tool, and it's a combination of Midjourney and Discord. You can forget it. You can look it up, but I'll just post in the prompt that GPT made, and it started generating these images and this image. So actually this happened. The only thing is I just inserted the text made by the AI. It generated the images to the left. The one that I highlighted, I said, can you expand on the picture, do a zoom? And it did a zoom, and it also made four variations. And you see the power, right? Because I already have the tweet information, I already have examples of images, and I could now say like, hey, this is my first post. And it actually makes quite sense. And I actually didn't do a lot to create this. And yes, our marketing department should make more details in it and make it more specific and more about our DNA. But it gives you so much power to just get some ideas and some creativity using these systems. And this helps, right? So for example, we're working for a company that creates professional clothing in South Africa. And we needed some example images, and you see that here. Or we're working for Schiphol, that's the airport in the Netherlands, and we needed something that gives a Schiphol vibe, and so we describe some stuff, and you see the results here. And it gives us sort of a universal language to communicate with our clients. This is the idea we have for the official shoot, or this is the idea we have for a landing on a website, or some part in your app. But it can also function like we can give it to a developer that creates a website or an app and say, use these images, use this content as placeholders. So this really enables us to create amazing speed in this project. So one of the last examples I have is, here you see the deck. The deck is in Keynote that we are presenting right now. The middle image is a rectangle, and you'll see it has nothing to the sides. I copied this image and put it in Photoshop. And in Photoshop, I'll say, create a bigger canvas, and around the emptiness that I created, expand the subject and make a city at the back of this image. And now I can go back to Keynote, make it bigger, put some information over, and before you know it, I've created a page. And as you see, it's high res, it's high density, and this street wasn't behind it, the sides of her body wasn't complete yet. And I just did it in a tool that we use on a daily basis. It's Photoshop. It's already in use like 20, 25 years. I don't know how old it is. So this means that Gen AI, it's not far away somewhere. It's actually in the tools right now. So this is Photoshop beta, but in a short amount of time, it will just be in there. So if your teams are working with Photoshop, they will start using Gen AI. So this is what I mean with like amazing, like mind-blowing speed. This is being introduced in our daily lives. So this will really change the way we do strategy. Like the thing I showed you with DEPT, the way it constructs content and stuff, how we build, what I just showed you with Midjourney, and how we accelerate what I just showed you with Photoshop. Meaning that briefs and concepts, designs and visualization, but also execution and the production suddenly is sort of changing the way we create ideas and how we then implement them in our organizations and all the way to end users. So I think, and this is my wrap up, AI tools are easy to learn, and for me, the most important thing is it will let you focus your workforce or yourself to really add value to what you're doing, opposed to just doing the work. And that will save you time from really easy and repetitive tasks. So thank you. This was my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you put in questions to me or Job into the chat, So Lisa will come back to you after the story of Job. But before I give the hand to Job, I have a small video that wraps up sort of the story I just told you, and enjoy.
In the latest developments, OpenAI reveals their next generation of their language model, GPT-4. What industries are going to remain untouched at this rate? Google's Bard AI finally drops to consumers. Microsoft Bing receives AI generation image support. Microsoft's Office suite receives AI capabilities as well. And everyone from Adobe to NVIDIA made their AI announcements. An MIT paper found that professionals using systems like ChatGPT are now able to complete tasks in half the time while increasing the quality of the output. This would be the equivalent of having an expert assistant in any field with you at all times. On the bar exam, the GPT series went from the bottom 10% to the top 10% performance level. Beyond its mastery of language, GPT-4 can solve novel and difficult tasks that span mathematics, coding, vision, medicine, law, psychology, and more. Without needing any special prompting, this model is still biased and can output some questionable information. Other big tech companies announced their own intentions for creating large language models. To train a model like GPT costs somewhere in the ballpark of $4 million. And Alpaca? It only cost $600 to train. This type of cost reduction was projected to only happen in the year 2030. What was supposed to take 8 years of work only took 5 weeks. After sounding the alarm earlier this year, Google tried to have the first move in this space. Only a few days later, Microsoft revealed its own slew of AI-powered updates to their Office applications. Starting off with Google, it released an API for its own language model, Palm. The development of AI apps by users will be a fundamental component for the competitiveness of Google in the future. Let's take a look at something else going on in the world of AI. The AI image generator, Midjourney, has just ticked into its 5th iteration. Some of the images that have come out of it are so lifelike that it's insane. We're moving from the information age into the knowledge age.
Right, I think about the next generation though, like growing from the people born now, the babies born now, they're growing up in a world where it's like computers always talked.
Yeah.
You could just always write something,
You always have an assistant.
speak something and it could generate a movie. That was always
Yeah.
how it was. And it's just like, wow.
So I think that was a great summary of the first part of the presentation. Moving on to the next. Before I jump in, we will jump into chapter 3. So how to integrate AI into your business processes. Please drop questions. We dive into the topic a bit deeper. So if it gets complex, just ask. I think that is the best remedy to understand this whole new vibe and trend. So how to integrate AI into your business processes. I think this is a key part. And when you are already using AI in a way like engaging with ChatGPT or Midjourney or other AI tooling, and you actually find the sort of boundaries, the limitations of them, then you're actually ready to make the next step and to integrate AI into your business, because then you actually have much more flexibility and you can really unlock superpowers in a way. But before we dive into that, why would you actually want to integrate AI into your business processes? 3 main reasons. Because AI can really spiral and kick off, accelerate personalized engagement, how you engage with your consumers. Secondly, it boosts efficiency heavily. And third, it really empowers the workforce and your internal processes heavily. So, and of course, these effects will have like a very positive effect, a highly effective business operation, and that is actually leading to business growth and a competitive advantage, especially now, first movers or companies that are really embracing embracing AI. You see that they are taking a competitive advantage. So, to effectively build AI into your organization, you actually need to write models and systems. You need to set strong foundation. A strong foundation is really key to do that now, because we really are starting into a new phase, a new era of how we build and how we build businesses in a way. The foundation consists out of the models, so those are the algorithms that we use to create the AI systems, and the underlying systems that are really the enablers for the AI, for the algorithms to work and to create engagements, empower the workforce, and create efficiency. I will dive a bit deeper in both areas, starting with models. So AI models empower workforces and organizations. There are, to put it simple, there are three kinds of AI available or existing. We have generative AI. I will dive deeper into that topic today. But there's also predictive AI. That is a sort of the traditional AI that we are already seeing for a long time in the form of product recommendations on e-commerce websites or sales forecasting. These are all predictive AI that actually predict like what will happen next. And the third is decision AI, and that is the most complex form of AI systems, and that is really AIs that can make decisions and are autonomous in a way, like self-driving cars. So more the robotics of it. But for today, we've only focused on generative AI because that is where we are together here for. And of course, we know generative AI is really booming, is really visual, and this is the type of AI that can actually generate various types of content, like text, like images, like code, but also other kind of synthetic data. And these generative AI are built on top of large language models, LLMs. LLMs, like ChatGPT, which is an LLM, but there are many more large language models. They are super powerful because they learned a lot of information and knowledge from the internet. So they have a lot of base knowledge in a way. But the weakness or the limitation is that they don't have any information or understanding about your business. So that's what you need to learn it. There are three main techniques. And I think this is the interesting part where it gets more complex, but also more powerful and more effective. There are three main techniques how these large language models can be integrated in your business and make them understand your business as well. The first one is prompt engineering. As Max explained about engaging with ChatGPT, you give it more context, you ask it more information, you copy paste, like for example, the homepage of the website into the interface. Those are like quite some actions you need to do. If we are developing a sort of process, or if there's a process where we know quite some steps already up front, we can prompt engineer, we can preset all these kind of settings, informations, and give these instructions to the large language model up front, so that you can actually skip to step 6 instead of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's already one way to give it like a really specific direction and give the large language model understanding about your business. Then a second technique, and that is more technical, that is using the large language model embeddings. And embeddings are numerical representations of text or images. And these numerical representations can be used for example, semantic search or visual search. And that is a way how you can completely replace hyperlinks and keywords on the internet. So that's also how you structure your website and how you actually create blogs and find relative content. Embeddings can be used and are super powerful to actually replace that. So we will see this happening, and we are already doing it, and we will see this more and more happening in the upcoming years. Because Google and Bing, the Google search and Bing are also migrating to those kind of techniques. And as a third approach, there's fine-tuning, and this is like really for the hardcore businesses that have like big data scientist teams in-house. And that is where you take the large language model and really change it by feeding it private proprietary information of your company to make it understand it completely and become a different AI in a way. Next to models, you need to have the right systems in place, otherwise the model will just sit your company on the shelf. Everybody will clap and be very happy and proud of it, but it will not actually generate any value. The systems that you need are consisting out of three main systems, right? There's the tech, like the data architecture, the machine learning operations to run and retrain the AI, and like vector databases for the embeddings. The data, that is really the key. Focus on data, so 360 customer data, get that in place, structure and get your business data right, and use external data like other data sources to fuel the AI models that you use in your company. And as a third one, that's also a really important area. Those are the guardrails. This is to create safe AI models that actually are conform your ethical standpoint of your organization. So they are adhere those rulings, and they are equipped to actually be flexible enough to meet the regulations that are constantly changing and are even different depending on the geolocation. So when you have the models trained and understand in a way to understand your business, and you have the right systems in place, AI can really supercharge businesses with engagements like new product innovations or super personalized customer experiences, but also create a lot of efficiencies in content production by personalizing ads, like the example Max already pointed out, but also in media optimization, doing automated spend management and media effectiveness, but also personalized copy and ad text. And it supercharges the workforce by really empowering them with for example, creating a ChatGPT that is embedded in the organization and knows everything about the information the organization has. So people can just use the business ChatGPT to ask questions about the business without going to all different tools to find the piece of information they need. So a lot of impact, a lot of directions. So how to integrate AI into your business processes is mainly by learning the AI model a bit more about your business, so it understands your business context, and actually have the right technology, data and guardrails in place to make sure it works properly, conform your wishes. So today we discussed 3 key questions. First, we started with why this sudden hype of AI, of generative AI, and that is because ChatGPT is like a visual interface that everybody understands. It's really accessible. People really understand it. And yes, we are working already with GPT-2 for over 2.5 years, but the interface is really making the difference because everybody understands it. And of course, the model is better, but it's really the accessibility. We explained how to use AI tools and give some really practical examples by really interacting and engaging with the AI to achieve the results that you want and really fine-tune to that area. And then as a third step, we dove into how to integrate AI into business processes by actually making the AI learn your business context and make it applicable in your organization. That's it for today, but I would like to close off with like a small clip created by the AI practice. It's created by our team, consisting out of the creatives, the techies combined, and it's a super cool and clear summary of where we are today with AI, what AI can actually create, and where it is about. This AI is fully generated. This clip is fully generated and created with AI. And I think it's a great example. Enjoy.
We live in a world where information is abundant, but clarity is rare. In the midst of the noise, we're focused on bringing simplicity to the forefront. We find the extraordinary in the ordinary, the sublime out of the mundane, creating beauty from the everyday. We believe in building, running, and using AI solutions that enhance life, not hinder it.
No gimmicks. No nonsense.
Just genuine
progress.
Thank you for the great presentation, and let's go over to some questions from the audience. So the first question I would say is for Job. If you want to start using LLMs strategically within your team or across your business processes, what would be your advice for the first starting point?
Good question, and I think it's a super interesting one. Going straight to the source, large language models. First of all, the key point is don't have as a goal to use large language models. Really focus on, okay, what do I want to do? Which use case do I actually want to focus on? But for example, large language models, I pointed out 2 examples, and I think they are super relevant for any business. So that's semantic search or visual search. So if you want to, for example, you have a website with content and you want to find related content, that is semantic search. You know, the page you're at has some semantic meaning. If you want to find relevant or related content, you want to find pages with similar kind of semantic meaning. That is the use case. So first get to the use case. This can be one. And then as a second step, find the right large language model, so LLM, that is actually understanding, in this case, text. There's Hugging Face is like the open source platform where a lot of large language models are available and can be downloaded. I would advise start using them first, or you can play around with OpenAI embeddings as well. But then you are paying for it. It's up to you. So use case, select the model, and then start interacting and start creating the actual use case itself.
Great, thank you. So we have another question, and I would like to direct this here to you, Max. So do you think people will see if something is created by AI versus human, if they see the difference, and could it hurt if something doesn't seem completely real?
Yeah, well, it's a good question, and there's a thing in our history in digital, the uncanny valley, where it is, your brain sees it's fake, but doesn't know why. That is what you don't want. However, if you just look at what we're doing the past 10, 20 years, for example, I showed Photoshop. Photoshopping somebody is the most normal thing on the planet. Using computer-generated images is pretty normal and standard. Having cars in studios with backdrops of sceneries of cities and stuff, everybody thinks it's normal. Why? Because we are using technology to show a product or a service in a positive way so the user can better understand it for their needs. So in these situations, I think you're totally fine, even you should use it because you can make it more personal. There are exceptions though, and I think one of the things that people are thinking of are deepfakes. So when you purposely are faking it just to sort of confuse people or say like, hey, I have a celebrity on my roster, but it's totally fake, then it can hurt your brand because you're misusing the technology. But I think this is the same for anything you can do with technology. Is like if you use it in a normal way and it's sensible and you're transparent how you use it, I think you're totally fine. And then when you use it in a positive way, but you don't use it well, then of course, that's still a thing. So always use your common sense when you do it.
Great, thanks. A question maybe for either of you. There's a designer in the audience who would love to use ChatGPT and combine it with user insights, but I think they're still trying to sort of get a hold of it. What would they be able to do? What are some of your tips for a designer to combine those two fields?
So maybe Job can follow up, but for me first, if I'm not 100% sure how this question is meant, but if I just take a stab at it, I think the hard thing is that you're talking about user insights where the system can't see where the insights are about because the visualization isn't there at all, it's only by text. So what I would do personally is use ChatGPT to categorize and to say what are the main things we need to look for. What are the stressors? What are the things that people are happy about? We'll take that input and then use my own common sense and analyze it with the categorized information and make something better. That's one. And two, if it's different sources and it's hard to combine, you can, and you need to look that up, but with prompt engineering, you can just say, here you have a piece of information. Can you please remember this? I will keep adding pieces of information, and only when I'm done, I will tell you. Do you understand? Okay, question mark. And then the system will just wait and will say, oh, thank you for this information. Thank you for that information. And then in the end, you can ask the question you want to ask.
Great.
Job, you want something to add?
I think it's a great summary. Maybe one small thing to add. ChatGPT is okay with numbers, but it's not a calculator. So that's also not really how. Don't copy paste full data sets into it. It will provide correct answers, but it's not the best tool and not a reliable tool to actually do like data analysis. So I'm not quite sure what kind of insights you mean, but it's a good one to take along. Yeah.
Nice. And so let's say one of the people at home, they're trying to create something and they want to use it commercially. Is that possible? How would that work?
And commercially, ChatGPT or Midjourney, I think in the end, we are now in the gray zone because there are no real the regulations are going to be shaped up. There's the European AI Act that is super vague, so it can be everything or nothing. Patents are also up for debate. So we are really in a sort of gray area in terms of commercializing stuff. But on the other hand, everybody will use AI. If you're not using AI in the future, that is impossible because you will live in a sort of bubble with algorithms and AI around you that you constantly use and engage with. So start using it, also use it to actually improve your work. But if you are making sure that you are sort of in between the output of the AI and before you put something on the market, then it's yours and it's up for use.
Great. Then another question, I think maybe a final question from the audience. For all the starters out there, what type of skills and knowledge do people need to actually get started with AI?
Let me answer it, but I think it's a twofold question answer. I think Job should end with it because it depends if you want to do it on a personal level or on a business level. Because I think there's a massive difference there. So in my chapter where I was showing tools, you can just do this today. I would just literally go to the website from OpenAI and make an account and start using it. Go to Midjourney, make an account, start using it, just to try it. I'm not saying change your whole life today, because you'll see that by doing, you sort of, then suddenly you will get it. Like, oh wait, this is not just, Max and Job being enthusiastic and looking in a glass bowl. This is actually happening now, and you can use it like literally now. When you start, if you start to want to use it on a higher professional level, I think it needs some learning, it needs some education, because we sort of stack and combine and chain tools to get a result. So we're not using just one, we're using like 8 things to do one production. Then it gets a little bit harder. And not to preach for that, but companies like ours will help you train in that. And then I'll now give it to Job, because I think for businesses, it's a little bit, one step further maybe.
Yeah, for businesses, there are actually 3 key roles or skill sets you need to really integrate and embed AI into your business. The first one, and that is a data engineer that you might already have in your business that is really focused on getting the data in place and really making this solid foundation of information. So that's focused on the technology. The second role is a data scientist. So the actual person that understands algorithms, knows what kind of LLM suits what use case. So that person or that role is building the model. And the third role, and I think this is a key one to not forget, and we call it an AI consultant. That is literally creating the bridge between the model and the business. So it's really the translator between what does the business need, how do the processes work, what is the use case where we can really add value to the organization with, translate it to the data scientist and the engineer so we can actually build it and then bring it back to the operations so it's actually generating value. So AI consultant, data scientist, data engineer.
Great. Thank you both so much for your great presentation. For the people at home, if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to one of our experts. And I think there's a QR code on the slide that's coming up. This was our lunch break for now. Stay tuned for the next one via LinkedIn. And thank you so much all and have a great lunch break.